This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here today with a gentleman I haven't seen in quite some time. I think we were working out, it was about 10 or 11 years ago or something like that, Garrett.
Something like that. It goes quick, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It certainly does. Now, I guess the first question I should ask you is what were you doing about 14 months ago when the world was kind of normal?
I was, as I usually am these days, well, I should say these days, as I have been in my previous life, I was traveling somewhat constantly. I am on average in 10 to 12 countries per year.
Right, right.
About half of Brooklyn Brewery's business is outside the United States. And in order to kind of keep up with our beer drinkers in various places, I go there and do events and talk to people and etc. So in October of 2019, I was in 5 cities in China. I shook thousands of hands,
Yeah.
All the regular stuff. And then in January and February, I was in London, I was in Manchester, I was in Lyon, I was in Paris, I was in Loire Valley for the Div Bouteille, the big natural wine fair. Then I came back. I went out to Hollywood the first week of March, working on some TV stuff. Got back, and the wheels came off.
And how did things impact you immediately at the brewery?
Well, pretty massively. We pretty much shut the brewery down.
Right.
But at the time, if you remember, we thought, man, this is going to be, I don't know, 6 weeks or whatever else.
Yeah.
That was the idea. It was going to be, and we are, as the brewery, we are very strong everywhere on draft. Doesn't mean you can't find us in a supermarket. But the supermarket has never been, our strong suit. We're New Yorkers. We don't really shop in supermarkets. Yeah. So it's not our kind of thing. And so to have all the bars and restaurants closed was a disaster, to say the least.
How did you manage to keep all the wheels on the wagon?
Well, I think we kept some of the wheels on the wagon.
Right.
You could say, and we are slowly climbing back towards where we were before. But we're still way down we are up past maybe this point last year, but of course we are lapping now 2020 numbers when everything was closed. A lot of people said, well, when the bars and restaurants close, people will just, do that in the supermarket. It doesn't work that way, right. At least not in the United States. It's not like everybody's going to go drink the same amount of beer that they did before. Beer is a very, I would say, social drink compared to others. And as a result, the way American supermarkets work, if you were already really strong in the supermarket, probably you're one of the big guys, and you got even stronger. Kind of like Amazon, anything that was already big and had mass delivery options and strong media did really well, from Amazon to Domino's Pizza to whatever, and Anheuser-Busch, but not as much a lot of the sort of mid-range and smaller players.
So you think the craft brewery sector has been particularly hard hit by this pandemic?
I think it depends on who you are. This was like, I don't know if you remember the neutron bomb, the thing that wipes out all the people but leaves the building standing.
Yes.
And this is not at all like a shot at the big brewers. It's just the way that it is. Like if you're Amazon or, you're one of the big brewers, this was a perfect scenario. It was like your dream of business-wise what could happen. It wipes out your competitors and leaves you standing.
Yes.
And so, in that regard, if you were really small and you were building your base on flogging cans out the driveway, well, this was great, right? Not great. Don't take me wrong. This is a horrible situation. And as we were speaking about beforehand, it's killed your friends, it's killed my friends, so I'm talking about business. If you were flogging cans out the driveway, you flogging even more cans now. People are doing that. And maybe you had a small tap room. And so there are certainly people who are doing better than they were before, partially as a result of the pandemic. And it really kind of depends on like, what were your strengths going in? This wasn't really, for most people anyway, an imaginable or at least imagined situation. I mean, we never said to ourselves in any meetings, like, what if all the restaurants and bars were to shut for a year?
Yeah,
How would that be? Like, what would we do then? It's like, so
yeah.
it's
So
pretty
what
bizarre.
kind of trends have you seen, purchasing trends have you seen throughout the pandemic?
Well, I think that you have people doubling down on the familiar.
Yeah.
And so, right now that has certainly seen an uptick in Pilsners. It's seen an uptick in hazy IPAs. People, I think it's also seen an uptick in variety packs, because people are like, if I'm going to go out and you're going to do a shopping opportunity, at least before the vaccine became widespread, people are like, I want to go to I want to go to the store once for 2 weeks.
And hence buying by the case, right?
Buying by the case. I'm not grabbing a bottle here, grabbing a bottle there. Case, I'm not going back. I'm gonna grab something that I already know, or something with some variety to it. So it's really done that. I think that there are certainly some smaller players who are able to sell more experimental things in this environment. But it's certainly harder.
I was reading that there had been a real drop off in the larger format bottles, like 750 ml bottles.
And not surprisingly, it's already was a format that was going by the wayside anyway. I mean, yes, I make fun of people, but it's also true. Social media has really changed so much the way people consume beer.
Yeah.
And so people never used to say, in the heyday of 750s, which lasted for 20 years, at least, nobody ever said, hey, the bottle is too big. The idea was you were supposed to get together with your friends and you would share the bottle.
Yeah, of course.
But the bottle was too big because you don't have friends. Like, you don't have friends that you actually hang out with. Your friends are now online, and you expect a single serve, thing. Now you have a pandemic and you really don't have any friends. Like, you can't see your friends. And so the 750 just went straight through the floor. And that's kind of now, I mean, it may have something of a comeback, but I think the 750 is, aside from like on premise, like a place like Jester King, where you're going to a site and drinking there and taking away something special, from the occasion, I would say that's a dead package.
You've also had quite a serious dabbling in the non-alcoholic market, have you not?
I would say it's not a dabbling. It's
I said quite a serious dabbling. It's
I think we have a regatta sailing into into that category. Yeah, it's certainly a new thing for us. It was certainly something that we did not expect to be releasing in the United States quite so soon. It was really, for us, more of a European play, if you like, which is kind of interesting to study, because the view in the United States of non-alcoholic beer and the view in Europe are really completely different.
Yeah.
In the United States, generally speaking, traditionally, when you saw somebody drinking a non-alcoholic beer, you simply assumed that they had a problem with alcohol. And, if you could assign a stigma to that or not, depending on who you are. But certainly nobody was saying, hey, I'll bet that guy's going hiking tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or, I'll bet he's a designated driver. Like, no. We actually studied that, and people were like 95%, like, you have a drinking problem if you're a teen best.
Yeah.
So the other thing was that the flavors of those beers were considered poor. And however, in Europe, it was looked at completely differently. The same person who might drink a non-alcoholic beer was probably also going to be drinking regular beer in the
Exactly.
same night.
Yeah.
And they were just spacing things out in some way. You might have 2 regular IPAs, and then you have 2 non-alcoholics because you're planning to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go hiking. And so it was just kind of like a lifestyle thing more, than a problem thing, which made it really a completely different proposition, and one that we'd never thought of before.
How has that side of the market been throughout the pandemic?
Well, I think with people sitting at home so much, it has certainly caused some people to end up drinking more, some people to drink less. Certainly, they are not drinking socially the way that they were before. For me personally, it's kind of like all about lunch. I never really thought of myself as somebody who would want to drink a non-alcoholic beer. However, if I'm sitting there and I'm having a ham sandwich for lunch, really, I'm not drinking some soda full of calories or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The options, really what I was doing was taking a squeeze of lemon or lime and some seltzer water in it. And that was my lunch drink because I didn't like, any of the other ones that were really available. Non-alcoholic beer is perfect.
Yeah.
If it actually tastes good, there is nothing better with the ham sandwich. And people think that in a brewery, while you're just drinking, like we never drank during the day at all. Like we would go out for lunch meetings, places that had our beer on draft, not a drop. Like got work to do, like
You just want to sleep if you have a beer at lunchtime. That's the problem.
yeah, like and also like that nice feeling that comes over you, like it kind of tells me mentally that my work day is over,
Yeah.
and now my leisure day has begun. And if that signal is not correct, that's just really disappointing. Like I don't need that. Like when I get that nice warm glow going, I want it to stay that way. I don't want to be going back to work. That's crazy.
I hear you. I hear you.